Hi, Charlie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm great as well. It's good to hear your voice. I think the last time that we were together was in 2009 at the WC Handy Awards, and you gave me a little tip back then, and I asked you where to go for soul food, and you said you better go check out Alcina's. And
Yeah, how'd you like it?
best fried green tomatoes I've ever had.
She makes cornbread just like my mother used to.
Oh, right. Yeah, she's that's a great place. Anytime I'm down in that area, I try to make it to Alcina's, and thanks for that little tip there. Have you been back to Memphis lately?
Haven't been to Memphis in a while, but you can bet I go to Alcini's every time I'm in Memphis at 313 North Main.
Yeah, there you go. And you got to give her a kiss, right?
Yeah, she's great.
Well, I was doing some research, and I came across a little snippet about you at one point in your life running moonshine, and I thought that was kind of interesting and kind of exciting. What's that all about?
Well, it wasn't anything like in the movies. I just knew these guys that made moonshine, and I would just drive up out in the country, and I had an old 1950 Lincoln that had a great big trunk on it, and they would fill up that trunk with these 5-gallon cans of moonshine, and I'd drive it where they wanted me to go, and I'd leave it with people, and they would sell it. So that was about all I did. I never had to outrun the cops or nothing like that. It wasn't like in the movies. It was that made a little money, it was nice. Wasn't not a big deal.
Well, you've come a long ways since then, and you're on a big tour right now with Ben Harper. How's the tour going?
Fantastic. It just gets better and better and better. I mean, the audiences are just really responding so well, and you see just a sea of smiling faces.
I think you're off to Australia next?
Yeah, I'm leaving in a couple of days.
And then
got home last night.
All right. That should be fun. And then you were in Europe prior to that, correct?
Oh, yeah. We were all over Europe. I mean, it was stumbled out everywhere we went.
Great. Well, it sounds like an amazing tour. With 7 nominations and the winner of 1 Grammy Award over your career, you're no stranger to the Grammys. Your new album, No Mercy in This Land, is incredible, and it's sure to be a Grammy contender. How did you and Ben become friends, and how did this project come together?
Well, we first met in 1993, and he was opening for John Lee Hooker, and John Lee would, if I wasn't working, John Lee often asked me to come play with him. He wouldn't pay me nothing, but that was okay. And John called, I always went. And so I was there with John Lee at this little club called the Sweetwater in Mill Valley. And that's where we all three, that's where John and I met Ben, and we just became instant friends. Like we had a rapport. And I was really interested in what he was doing musically. And it seems like after that, our paths just kept crossing at different festivals and clubs. And John Lee had us record together a couple of years after that, an album John Lee did. And that's where we really locked in, was in the studio. And John Lee said, man, you guys sound so good together. You should record more together. And we thought that was right. And we kept talking about it for years, but we just never had the time. We were never off at the same time to get into the studio together. So finally, we just decided to take the time. And we went in the studio, and it just was like magic. And then we toured behind the first album, which was called Get Up. And the band, and it just seemed to get stronger and stronger, and we knew we had to make another album. And when that one won a Grammy, it kind of said, yeah, we're on the right track here.
Yeah, it's a magical pairing, and it makes complete sense. So, John Lee's been a part of your life for a very long time, and all the way up to Ben Harper and introducing you, and you've collaborated with the list is a mile long. And I was just kind of curious, what's some of your more memorable collaborations out there? Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf. What sticks in your mind as one of the more unique collaborations and
Well,
partnerships?
it was really outstanding with all the blues guys I got to play with over the years, which was just about everybody. But things that you would never think of that really stand out to me were playing with Quarteto Patria from Cuba, and Cindy Lauper, and Inexus in Australia. And those are not, you don't think of those groups as being blues groups, but I love to be able to see what I can do to fit in with with an artist that's playing something that's not strictly blues, and kind of blues it up for them.
Yeah, that's a great addition. I think, especially in that In Excess album, your harp introduction makes that song what it is today. You were recently featured in the PBS documentary American Epic, which is an amazing show, and explores history of Beale Street in Memphis. And I heard that you got your break in a blues club in Chicago with Muddy Waters. Chicago and Memphis are, both legendary blues towns. Which town do you consider home, and what are the musical differences between Chicago and Memphis?
Well, all those guys up in Chicago, almost all of them, anyhow, just came up to Chicago like I did, looking for a job in the factory. So all those guys were from the South. They were, in almost an identical trip. It started out, I was born in Mississippi, moved to Memphis, grew up there, and then went to Chicago looking for work. Almost every one of those guys has the same story. Born in Mississippi, go to Memphis, then up to Chicago. So it was like kind of, in a way, going home, because all those guys were from home, and so we had a lot in common. When I first got to Chicago, I didn't know anything about Chicago, except that they had a lot of factories and work there back then. And so I was on the north side. I didn't know north side, west side, south side. I knew nothing. And the white people in Chicago couldn't understand me. My accent was so thick back then. And so then I finally, as I learned more about Chicago, I ended up living on the south side where everybody understood me perfectly. And there were restaurants that served the kind of food I liked, and there were clubs that had the kind of music I liked. And so I stayed the rest of the time in Chicago on the south side. I wasn't going around asking to sit in or nothing. I didn't think that I was good enough to be on stage. I didn't even know that was a possibility. To me, the blues was strictly adult music. There was no kids my age in these clubs, black or white. But I'd gotten to know this waitress. She told Buddy, "You ought to hear Charlie play harmonica." I was like, "What?" He knew I was a fan because I would talk to him and request tunes and things, but I never told anybody I wanted to sit in or played anything. But when he found out that I played, he insisted that I sit in, which wasn't unusual. There were musicians sitting in all the time at Pepper's Lounge because they were open till 4 in the morning, and that's a lot of time to kill. Somebody was always happy to have people sitting in. But what was unusual was it was a young guy that was white in this club, and so they got a lot of attention. I already stood out, but when they heard me play, then I started getting offers for jobs. Hey man, next Wednesday we're at this club. Come on by, and we can pay you something. And that got my attention. That really got me focused. You're going to pay me? Wow! All right. So that was my ticket out of the factory, and it's funny because it wasn't a goal of mine to be a musician, and I just loved the music, and I had learned to play in Memphis from a lot of the old-timers around there, and I didn't know that I was preparing myself for a career. I'd have paid a lot more attention.
Yeah, right. Practice a little bit more, but it's worked well for you, and collaborating with someone like Ben Harper. Tell us a little bit about that. You guys kind of come from two different musical backgrounds. What do you enjoy the most about playing with Ben?
Well, he grew up in a family that owned like a folk music store, and they sold records and they sold musical instruments, and I think you could get lessons there too, but strictly the focus was folk, not top 40. So he has just a tremendous amount of influences from all levels of folk music from all over the world, where I just have mostly, I'm just a hillbilly from Mississippi. So it's interesting that a lot of stuff that Ben knows about on the folk level, from all these different cultures around the world. That's fascinating to me because I've always thought that every culture has its music of lament, like you can hear about My Baby Left Me. I don't care where you go. There's just somebody singing about My Baby Left Me because it's a worldwide phenomenon. Or she came back and it was worse. So a lot of music from around the world, like I mentioned earlier, the Cuban group Quarteto Patria, they don't know anything about what we call blues, but man, they're singing about the same stuff. And for me to play with those guys was like the most natural thing in the world because it's music from the heart. And even if you can't speak the same language, if you're playing with somebody who's playing from the heart, you can play together really easily because you're in that same zone from the music from the heart. So that's real fascinating to me.
Yeah, they've always.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, you did perfectly. I mean, and I was going to follow up with. Music is a universal language, and they've always said that. Did it feel natural when you first started playing with Ben? Was it a match made in heaven?
Oh yeah, it was just like falling off a log. I mean, it just couldn't go wrong. It just fell right in place, just as like we'd been playing together forever.
Yeah, that translates on both of your albums. It seemed pretty obvious, but you never know. I felt like I should ask that. So the set lists for the shows on your current tour take audiences on a ride through the new album along with some of the old classics of yours. What can we expect in Telluride? What can we look forward to this September?
Well, we'll be playing tunes from the new album and from the old album, and we do some covers now and then, and I do some of my tunes, and it's a good mix of, one tune after another. It's just rocking away, and the audiences are just loving it. They're eating it up. It's a lot of fun. We have so much fun on stage that the audience can't help but have fun.
Yeah,
it's a great band. Everybody in the band is just, as individuals and musicians, just as good as it gets.
Ben has always been brilliant at putting very talented musicians around him, and including yourself. Well, I know you're busy. We really look forward to seeing you here in Telluride and for our 25th year. I don't think you've been in Telluride since 2003. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. It's been too long, and I really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. And best of luck on the rest of the tour, and we'll see you in a couple months.
Okay, Steve, I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you. We love Telluride.
Well, we love you too, Charlie. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.